Hi, I'm Richard from Frozen Well. Welcome to my devlog for the game I created for Xanderjam 4. The jam is organised by Xander Wood, a fellow game dev here on YouTube, and as the name suggests, this is the fourth jam he's organised, and the first that I've entered. It's Friday lunchtime and the jam's about to start, so I'll get ready for the big theme reveal video.
So without further stalling, let's reveal the theme for Xanderjam 4. I wanted to explore what happens when you put things together that really shouldn't go together, like an oxymoron, spaghetti and syrup, or me and the missus. Would these things fall apart at the seams, or coexist in perfect harmony? I want to know!
You don't want to know!
No, I want to know.
You want to know?
So that's exactly why the theme for Xanderjam 4 is Opposites Attract. Now fly, my pretties.
Now fly! Fly!
And make the best darn video game a game jam has ever seen.
So, I had the theme. My initial thoughts on the theme were that it was a good one and should make some interesting games. Straight away my brain started thinking about magnets, pushing and pulling things. I knocked together a quick prototype and decided that the physics would probably cause me more problem than it was worth for the game jam. Therefore, I decided I'd take a step back and go for a walk. I find that this is one of the best ways for me to clear my mind and come up with ideas for jams. It was a beautiful day and my creative juices started flowing. Having put the magnet idea out of my mind, I started instead thinking about joining together two unrelated opposite types of games. I came up with a few ideas and they all involved one of the games being a fighting game. None seemed to hit the mark though, no fighting pun intended. I was nearly home and was looking around the fields and saw the crops and thought about combining a farming game with a fighting game. One of these is a relaxing game, the other an action game. Therefore, opposites attract together into one game. EUREKA, I had my game idea. I opened up Construct 3, my game engine of choice for jams, and set to work. I got a basic character controller working that allowed the player to move about and attack. Then, I fell into the trap I often fall into. The next 2 days of the jam, pretty much all the time that I spent on the game involved me drawing the player sprite and the various animations for it. So by the end of Sunday, pretty much all I had was a player that moved around the screen and attacked. There was no game coded whatsoever. By this point, I realised that a lot of the grand plans I had for this game were going to not get implemented in time for the submission deadline. I decided to scale back the scope and instead of multiple enemies there would be one, and I'd limit the number of crops that could be planted to 3. With my new streamlined game idea, I moved on to adding the farming mechanic. Instead of making some fancy crop system that could in the future be scaled nicely, I just hard-coded various states and animations into a single sprite. Triggered different animations depending on what stage the farm patch was in. I decided on 5 stages for the farm patch: dirt, ploughed, planted, growing and grown. The first 2 stage transitions would be triggered by the player interacting with the farm patch, and the final 2 would be time based and triggered automatically by use of a timer on the farm patch. I also added a pop-up menu that allowed the player to select which crops to plant. Again, this was just a sprite with 3 different animation frames. If I decide to develop this game further, then a more elegant solution will need to be found. It's the end of Monday now and I have the farming mechanic working. Tomorrow it's going to be a case of adding an enemy to the game. I decided that the enemy was going to be a space slug. No idea really why I decided to set my game in space, but at the time it seemed like the way to go. So the logical enemy for a plant was a slug, and with the game set in space, why not a space slug? I drew the sprite and after looking at some references of how a slug moved, I got the movement animation created. With the slug created, I started adding logic for it to the game. I made it so the slugs would be spawned at random intervals, but they'd only be spawned if there was a planted patch that didn't already have a slug targeting it. Then, when the slug reached the patch, it would stop and start attacking the crop, reducing the plant's health every second. If the plant was killed, then it would reset the farm patch and the slug would target the player instead. I wanted to add more logic to the enemy, but I was running out of time, so for now that logic would have to suffice. It was now halfway through Wednesday evening, so I didn't have long left to work on the game. I got to work on a menu next and create a simple background image and the ability to turn music and sounds on and off. That reminded me that these still needed adding to the game. I added some text to the menu telling the player to press space to start, and also some text to display the player's high score. The high score I decided was going to be based on the amount of gold coins the player earned from growing the crops. That's the end of Wednesday now, so I just had one more evening left to work on the game. It's Thursday evening now, and I've added some sound effects and music to the game. I've been testing the game and fixing a few bugs that I found. I'm reasonably happy with the game, although it has a lot less content than I originally planned. I definitely like the concept, and I'll hopefully revisit it at some point and make the improvements that I'd originally planned. I'm also mulling over the idea of remaking it as a turn-based game, so watch this space. If you fancy checking out the final game, there's a link to it in the description below. Thanks for watching. It's been my first video for a while, but hopefully the first of many more to come. I'm planning on posting a Ghost Blaster devlog once a month from now on, and then other content in among when time allows.